Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Seoxy with Triangle Gaming. Today I'm going to be bringing you a top lane guide for Ryze, the Rogue Mage. Now this will be a pretty basic guide, so we'll take a quick look at his abilities, masteries, runes, and an item build that I like to use for him. Also at the end I will go ahead and throw in some gameplay footage as usual, just so you can get a quick look at how he plays. So let's go ahead and get into it. So let's go ahead and take a look at his abilities. We'll start off with his passive, Arcane Mastery. When Ryze casts a spell, all of their spells have their cooldown reduced by 1 second. So this is a pretty nice passive. It's pretty self-explanatory. When a spell's on cooldown, if you cast another spell, it will further reduce its cooldown by 1 second. And this will only get better as the game progresses when all your spells are on shorter cooldown. And then we have his Q ability, Overload. Ryze throws a charge of pure energy at an enemy for heavy damage and additional damage based upon Ryze's maximum mana. Ryze also gains passive cooldown reduction. So this ability is your big damage ability, and it is on a fairly short cooldown. And as it says, the higher Ryze's maximum mana is, the more damage it will do. And then we have his W ability, Rune Prison. Ryze traps target enemy unit in a cage of runes, damaging them and preventing them from moving. Also gains bonus damage based on Ryze's maximum mana. So this ability is nice engage or disengage. So for an engage, you can throw this on them and then fire other spells without them being able to do much, especially if they're melee. And also this is a good disengage, especially if your opponent has a good engage. You will want to save this just in case they try to engage on you. Then you can use this ability, root them in place, and get out of there. And Ryze's E ability, Spell Flux. Ryze releases an orb of pure magical power that deals damage and bounces from the initial target up to 5 times. Also gains bonus damage based on Ryze's maximum mana. Targets hit have their magic resistance reduced. So this is a nice ability. It doesn't do too much damage, but its main use is to reduce the target's magic resist, and then allowing your other spells to do more damage. And also, the same as its other abilities, its damage is increased by Ryze's maximum mana. And then there's his ultimate, Desperate Power. Ryze channels immense arcane power. He gains Spell Vamp, and all of his spells deal area of effect damage. So this is a nice ultimate. It's good for small skirmishes, as well as even better for team fights, since all your spells do area of effect damage. Now for your max order, you're going to go ahead and max out your Q first, then your W, and then your E ability. And then of course you will max out your ultimate whenever possible. Alright everyone, so now let's go ahead and take a look at his masteries. There's a couple different ways you can go with him on top lane. This is what I usually use, but I'll also tell you some little changes you can make. It's really up to your preference. Use 19 points in utility. I go ahead and put 3 points in Fleet of Foot for the increased movement speed, 3 points in Meditation for some mana regain, 1 point in Strength of Spirit for +1 health every 5 seconds for every 300 maximum mana. Normally I wouldn't get this, but since with Ryze you really like to stack that mana because it increases his damage, I go ahead and take this because you actually end up getting quite a bit of health. And then I got 1 point in Alchemist for a 10% increase in the duration of potions and elixirs. Then I got 3 points in Vampirism for 3% lifesteal and spell vamp. And then 1 point for your biscuits. Then I got 3 points in Expanded Mind for 5% increase in maximum mana. Then I got 3 points in Intelligence for 5% cooldown reduction and 10% cooldown reduction of activated items. And then for the defensive tree, feel free to mix and match the first tier depending on your preference really. But I got 2 points in Enchanted Armor for a 5% bonus in armor and magic resistance, 2 points in Recovery for +2 health every 5 seconds, and then 1 point in Block for 1 reduced basic attack damage, 3 points in Veteran Scars for 36 health, and 1 point in Juggernaut for +3% maximum health. And then I put 2 points in Sorcery for 2.5% cooldown reduction. If you want the full 5%, you can take the point out of Juggernaut and Block and get that 4%. Also, feel free to go ahead and take all the points out of defense and put them in offense if you'd rather do that, but that's up to you. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the runes I use for them. For Quintessences, I use +1.5% movement speed just for a little bit more mobility. For Marks, I use +0.87 magic penetration. For Seals, I use the Scaling Health. And then I also use the Scaling Magic Resist for the glyphs. Some people like to use the mana glyphs and Quintessences. If you do decide to do this, it does give you a stronger early game. It allows you to put out a little bit more damage. But Ryze's strength really is in his late game, and he just continues to scale more and more each level. And the nice thing about him is that even if you get behind in your lane, die a couple times, it doesn't hurt Ryze that much because he scales so well. So that's why I picked the Scaling Health Seals and the Scaling Magic Resist Glyphs, just to even further increase his scaling power. But if you want to use the mana, I mean, you can always try it out and see if that works better for you. But I use this just to increase his scaling power. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the item build that I use. For your starting items, you will pretty much always take this. There's no reason really not to, because this allows you to do more damage, and for the most part, no one up top is really going to be able to contest you too much because of your ability to do quite a bit of burst damage, along with your W ability, which allows you to get out of there if they try. So we go ahead and start off with Sapphire Crystal, gives you plus 200 mana, 2 health potions, a mana potion, and then of course your warding totem. Your first recall, you're going to build your Sapphire Crystal into Tear of the Goddess. It'll give you a little bit more mana, but then it gives you plus 6 mana regain per 5 seconds. And this passive mana charge, which gives you plus 4 maximum mana on spellcast or mana expenditure, up to 2 times per 8 seconds. And then it gives you plus 1 maximum mana per 8 seconds, for a max of 750 mana. Then you'll also go ahead and pick up your Boots of Speed. For your core items, the first item you're going to want to build is your Rod of Ages. Gives you plus 450 health, plus 450 mana, and plus 60 ability power. And then it's passive, which grants plus 20 health and mana and 2 ability power per stack, with a max of plus 200 health and mana and plus 20 ability power. Grants 1 stack per minute. So that's the reason why you want to get this item first. That way you can go ahead and get those stacks as soon as possible. And then its other passive, which is also nice in early and mid game. Valor's Reward, upon leveling up, restores 150 health and 200 mana over 8 seconds. And then your next item, this will either be your second or third item, depending on if you want to build your boots first. But it's Archangel's Staff, gives you plus 250 mana, plus 60 ability power, and plus 10 mana regain per 5 seconds. Its passive, Insight, grants ability power equal to 3% of your maximum mana. And its other passive, Mana Charge, grants plus 8 maximum mana for each spell cast, and mana expenditure occurs up to 2 times every 8 seconds. Transforms into Seraph's Embrace at plus 750 mana. If you haven't noticed by this point, with his abilities and some of his items, Ryze does more damage with the more maximum mana he has. So that's why this item's really good, because when it's fully stacked and turns into Seraph's Embrace, it'll give you plus 1000 mana. And then there's his boots. I go ahead and go with Sorcerer's Shoes for the magic penetration, but as usual this is situational depending on who you're up against. You may want the magic resist or the armor boots. Now the next item I have is Frozen Heart. Gives you a nice chunk of armor along with 400 mana and plus 20 cooldown reduction. And then its aura, which reduces the attack speed of nearby enemies by 15%. Now I have this item here because most of the time you will need it, but if the enemy team isn't really building magic resist, then go ahead and get another item. But if they are, go ahead and pick up Void Staff. Gives you plus 70 ability power, and then its passive, magic damage ignores 35% of the target's magic resist. For situational items, if you need a little bit of magic resist, Abyssal Scepter is a good choice. Gives you plus 70 ability power, along with 45 magic resist, and then its aura, which reduces the magic resist of nearby enemies by 20. Another good option if you need some magic resist is Spirit's Visage. Gives you 400 health, 55 magic resist, plus 200 health regain per 5 seconds, and plus 10% cooldown reduction. This passive increases self-healing, health regain, lifesteal, and spell vamp effects by 20%. So the plus 20% spell vamp works nicely with your ultimate. And then there's Zhonya's Hourglass, which is always a good choice if you're getting targeted or you just want a little bit more armor. It gives you a good chunk of ability power along with 50 armor. And then its active stasis. The champion becomes invulnerable and untargetable for 2.5 seconds. Alright guys, so now I got some gameplay footage set up for y'all to watch, just so y'all can get a quick look at how he plays. Hope you enjoy. Alright everybody, so that's going to go ahead and do it for this guide. If you enjoyed it, go ahead, like, subscribe, and stay tuned to the channel for some more League of Legends guides. Also feel free to leave some comments below on ways that we can improve these guides. If not, thanks for watching, and have a good one.